have something else special too that I'm working on, and we're talking about marking up your prints. This will take, no one's done this in the world from what I've seen. It may be done with other printing methods, but not DTF. And I'm being serious. Once I'm monetized at some point, if you guys can help me get there, I'm going to share, of course, I'll share with you everything of how I'm doing this, but I want, again, the repeatable results. So this will take a $15 shirt to a $25, $30 shirt, guaranteed. I'm serious. No one else has done this. I'm not a narcissist or anything like that, but I am a little proud of what I've come up with, but it's not quite ready for me to put out there. And you guys could say it's BS or whatever, but when I do it, this will be pretty interesting, seeing that as I'm the first person to do this, at least that I've seen online. There's no information on this, so help me get there. We'll keep putting out, hopefully, great content. Hello, Print Society. I'm excited to announce the reveal of the first comprehensive video for DTF printing with foil. That's right, we will be infusing foil into a DTF print. I believe I'm the first person in the world to actually do this. To actually prove this, I don't know why I need to do this, but I've actually been working on this since December of 2021. So I do believe I'm the first person in the world to do this. I've seen it to where people try to print the DTF ink directly to the foil and adhere it, but I felt as though it could be done better, and so I experimented with this, and we are now ready to launch the beta side of this because I believe that it would be littered throughout the DTF printing group, so I'm pretty proud of that. But beyond being proud of something that you worked on for a long time, what transcends that is sharing that knowledge with others and allowing them to further the progression of these methods. So without further ado, let's get into this. So I have to explain what's happening first. And the most difficult part about doing this as a creator is making it to where the viewer can actually duplicate those results, because it wasn't enough for me to do it. And so let's say you have this shirt here. So this will represent our shirt. Just say it's a black shirt. And this is the front view. So we have the shirt. Then we have your white adhesive layer, right? And so the general consensus of DTF is to create a layer, a DTF print to where the white is vibrant, but we need to actually do the opposite with that, and I'll tell you why here in a second. So what we have here is the shirt, and then we have the adhesive layer, and then atop that, or on top of that, there's your ink. So this represents the color of ink. So what we are trying to do with this is to get the thinnest white layer possible, because instead of printing the color on top, we'll actually be printing just the white ink. So what we need to do is press this until the adhesive peaks just above the surface. And sometimes your film can actually affect this, because some films are coated with another tiny layer that you don't even really see. And you'll notice which films have that layer, because you'll see a little bit of it release onto the DTF film once you peel it cold. So we have this layer here, and then what we'll take next is our foil. So this represents our foil. And so what we want to do is allow this foil to kind of permeate this layer. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to take the shirt, we press the white layer, but it needs to be just so thin to where it barely raises up above the surface of the texture of the garment. And basically when we press the foil to the transfer, we'll have to allow that to cool. So when we remove the foil, what should be actually left is just the foil that you see. So that's the front view of that. So this is in essence my crude version of what's happening here. So, and you'll understand toward the end why I had to do it in this way. Okay, so firstly what we want to do is, let's just make a box here so we can see what we're doing. And this will start with the design itself. So the way we need to try to do this for you guys is to make it to where you can repeat these results. And the best way I found to do this, I mean, I stayed up for hours trying to figure out how to do this, no matter whether you have a commercial printer or a converted printer. So this is what we're going to do. Let's just do this like that. So what we're going to do is create these rectangles. And you want to have multiple transfers to test on. But what we'll do is we'll do this in columns. So we'll do it in columns and rows. So do this however you want. But what we need to do is make sure that we grab our text tool. And this will represent the percentages that we'll be printing at. And so what we're trying to do is change the opacity to a value that makes the white thinner or lighter or more opaque. And so we'll actually print with 100% white within our RIP program. So whichever RIP software you're using, that's okay. But what we need to do, let's just say we're starting with 60%. So what we need to do is create a text layer, and that will stay at 100%. So it would have actually been easier to duplicate this before, but that's okay. I'm doing all of this on the fly, so forgive me. So this will represent 60, this will represent 50. And we can make this a little bit larger. I'm not used to the new version of Illustrator, but I'm getting a little bit better. Controls are a little bit more sensitive than CS5. Okay, so this will be 40%. And all of this will make sense here, and just bear with me, but this has to be done in order for you to be able to duplicate what I've done. Okay, so now if you're an Illustrator or no matter which design software you have, we'll select these, and I'll actually just include this in the file so that you don't have to do this. That's what I'll do. So this will be in the resources tab or the description of the video of the module. So we're going to take this, and we need the opacity. Some people say opacity, but we'll change this to be relative to what we have listed here. So we'll change that to 60. All of these values, you can hold Shift and Alt to select all of those. The opacity of these values will be set to 50. And the opacity of these values will be set to 40%. So we are trying to save time by doing this. I wouldn't go beyond 40, and you want your white to be printing optimally when you do this. So preferably you would want to print this after you know that your white is running at its optimal level. So now what we've done is made this 100% white. And the reason we did this is so that when we adhere the foil, we can actually see these numbers at all times on the shirt. So once we go to print with the DTF ink and fuse it with the foil, we know which value to set the layers in within our artwork. So now I will hide this layer here. Everything is there. Export this as a PNG. DTF foil test. Use artboards. Export. And now I will go ahead and send this over to the other computer that we print from, and we'll pick back up. Okay, so let's go ahead and powder this print. And when you powder these, I recommend that you use a fine grade powder, because the grain is smaller and it can cover more surface area. And I also don't recommend flicking the film, so if you're using a shaker, just be aware of that. I just kind of shake it loose, and you can hold it up to the light to see, just to make sure all of the powder has coated it. Because remember, this is already a thin layer of ink. So what we don't want to do is to excessively knock off adhesive that we need the foil to bind to. Okay. And we will eventually test multiple different types of foils. And they will also be available at popdtf.com really soon. Again, this is still in beta, and that's after a year of testing. So hopefully you'll be able to repeat the same results, but it may depend on your powder and film. Here are a couple of more colors, or a few more colors that we'll offer. And I think we want to just start with the gold. So we'll go ahead and trim some of this while we're waiting on that cure. And then I guess we can try to recreate that effect that I showed you with the red in the video from a couple of years ago. And again, I'm very excited to release this. It was very hard to keep it hush hush, but that was only because I didn't know what I was doing. So it's yeah, some of the foils are a little bit more difficult to work with, but again, that's why this is in beta. And as I refine the process, I'll release more, but I figured 2 years was long enough to at least start to show everybody what I've been working on. Okay, this one's done. Okay, so we have our heat press at 300 degrees Fahrenheit with, I would say, heavy pressure. Yeah, heavy pressure. Grab our shirt here. And the first step will always be to lint roll the shirt. Even at 13 years of printing, we still lint roll each shirt. And this is a lint shaver. And I used the new oven to cure these prints, so some of them are a little scorched, but I think we'll still be okay for this sample. So I will need to dial that in for printing with foil. Okay. Now what we want to do is take a 40, a 50, and a 60 print. And what we're trying to do now is just establish a baseline in terms of which opacity will work for us with our printer. Let me trim this up a bit. And we're still going to peel cold. And I can tell that all of the adhesive won't take. I don't know if you can see that. See here. Okay, if you look really closely, you can see where the adhesive has missed, but we're going to press this anyway, just for the sake of time. But I did want to point that out, just so you'd be aware of it. Okay, this is good enough to test. So we're pressing with firm pressure at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds, and then we'll peel cold. And we'll move on to the next step, which is just simply covering the adhesive transfer with the foil. So you can see the different opacity levels. You can see more of the shirt as we go into session with the lower to higher opacity value from our design software. Just make sure they're extremely cool, because we want that adhesive to set properly. Even if you have a hot peel DTF film, still peel it cold. That's a good measure. And you may even need to dial this at a percentage yourself. So I'll include the vector file as well. That way you can manipulate those layers. So let's see. Okay, we've got a good peel here with the 40. Now this was due to our cure, so I'm okay with this. But just be mindful again, when you go to powder, don't knock the adhesive too heavily, because you'll knock it off. So my prediction with all of my testing is that this 60 may be a little bit too high for the foil to adhere to, and this one may be okay. But let's find out. All we have to do is simply cover the area with the foil. Well, let's actually be fair. We'll just do 3. Just cutting it close on that one. Okay, let's cover and repress. .15 more seconds. And we will again peel this cold. and we may see the foil start to stick in certain areas once we actually lift up. And the thing to note is we want to slide the cover sheet. Don't lift it up, as we may prematurely pull the foil away, so we want to just slide in case you have static in your sheets. And it seems as though it may have adhered to all three, so it'll be a surprise, I guess. You can try to let this cool, and then based off which opacity is the perfect opacity for our particular printer, what we would do is actually dial all of the white in the image to that, and we can do a lot more effects as well. So what you would want to do is actually change the different parts of the image that you want a foil to adhere to. You can change that color to white, and when you do that, you can then select all of the white in the image, and we'll go over that in a bit after we run our test. But you can select all of the white within the image and put it at that particular opacity that we see here. Okay, so we can see the gold. So if our cure would have been perfect, we would have actually seen this in the print. So 40 is good, 50 is about perfect, near perfect. Let's check on 60. 60 is even better. So we may, oh no, you can see a little bit of gray in there. So, and this also serves as our second press. So this is a high foil finish, and we can press it again for a heavier foil finish. Okay, we pressed the shirt for a second time, and now you can clearly see it has a matte finish. Again, this is the beta version of it. You will eventually be able to purchase the foils from popdtf.com. And until then, just go to popdtf.com and message us privately. And all Mastery Class members, if you're enrolled in the Mastery Class, you'll be able to get those foils from us even before they're available on the website. So, again, I'm very excited to share this with you guys. It's been a long time coming. It's been nearly 2 years, and I finally was able to share this with you. And so take this and run with it. Again, I believe I'm the first person in the world to do this, or at least to showcase it, and I hope you're able to benefit from this. And thank you, and as always, stay elegant, Print Society.